The purpose of this video is exercise P1-6 for CAD 211. For this project, when I go to New, instead of selecting the standard IPT, I'm going to go to the metric tab and grab the standard millimeter IPT, since this one is in metric. And again, with this one, I'm going to be applying some dimensions as I go, but probably not nearly as many, simply because I want to dimension this really the way it is in the book to make sure that I've got everything that I need. So for this segment, I'll put in 60, and that gives me a really good baseline because I'd have been drawing this really small had I not done it this way. Now there's really no dimension given here, and I'm just going to bring this up to the top, over, come down, over, back up. You can see I pretty much stopped dimensioning with that one dimension. That way I can make sure that everything I'm doing is going to be dimensioned according to the book's dimensioning, and then this line across the bottom. Now I'm done with the actual drawing of the lines, but now to make my life a lot easier, I'm going to go ahead and start putting some equal constraints in here now, which is this constraint button right here. I'm going to say that this line and this line are equal, that this line and this line are equal, this and this are equal, this and this are equal, and this should give me the over constraint dialog box because I now have everything equal. What applying all the equal constraints does essentially is turns this into a symmetric part, which it is. So now I don't have to dimension nearly as much. I can just dimension the things that I need to dimension. So I'll go to my dimension tool. I know that this is 20. I know the overall height is 110. I know the height of this particular piece is 80. From here to here is 50. Okay, now I got to be careful and put an overall on here. Overall is 140, and that is all of the dimensioning I needed, because everything being symmetrical, there's only so much room that everything in here can fit based on what it is. This 20 would be applied right here as well. This 50 is basically going to be the same as over here. So with far less dimensions, everything comes out correctly. And you can double check and just make sure that comes up as 120, even though it's a driven dimension. It's got all the information in here that it needs. This comes up as 40 like it's supposed to, but based on the constraints that I placed on here, everything lines up the way that it's supposed to line up. So I'll go ahead and finish this sketch, and then I will create the hole, or extrude it. So we'll go ahead and extrude this. Thickness is going to be 15 for this particular part. So I'll go 15, hit the checkbox. I can now put in the hole that's in the lower left corner. It's the one that's the first one to mention, so it's the easiest one for me to do, with my reference edges being here and here. This length will be 15. This length is 15. I'm sorry, this one is 25, not 15. So we'll put that 25 in. It does go through all, and it has a diameter of 20. So there's the first hole. I'm going to go ahead and say OK to this, because rather than draw all three holes, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. And I don't know what dimensions I was reading, but this should be 20 up from the bottom. So let me just right click on hole 1, and I'm going to say edit feature. And it's going to give me all the dimensions and stuff like that, so I can come in here and retype in that 20 and say OK. And rather than doing the whole command 3 more times, it's going to be a lot easier for me to just do a rectangular pattern. The feature is going to be the hole. The direction is along this bottom line, but I do need to flip that direction. so that it's going the other way. The number of holes is 3. You have to count the one that you've already created, and the spacing between them is 45. The preview looks good. I can say OK, and what I'm left with is the completed P1-6 exercise.